Hello. Um, I've tried multiple times to make this video. I made it yesterday, but I was like super rambly and kind of giving too much, I thought. And so I wanted to redo it this morning, and I just wasn't feeling it. So um, I took a shower. I got dressed in real clothes, and so I feel better than I was before. So yesterday I unveiled my new project, which is a zine. Um, I am trying not to overly hype this um, because in the past I have hyped up things like Table for Six at 56, which was going to be my dinner party club, um, in which we would have a rotating cast of four people who would just be invited to come to a nice dinner that I would make. It would be like a paid dinner club. But explaining a little bit about that in my past with those phases, um, I was just coming out of roasters. I was working in a skill set in the kitchen, and I was trying to look for something to take my skill set into another avenue, um, to try to make something of it. So that's kind of how that came to be. It wasn't really organic. It wasn't really something I wanted to do, but rather that I felt is in my skill set and I can do. And it's still something that I think about. It's still something that might come around down the line or in another lifetime. It's still, an interest of mine, but it's not a passion per se. Um, anyway, the zine came about because I started thinking about the things that I liked when I was younger. And they say go back to like when you were 9 or 10 and find the things that you enjoyed. Now, even during those times when I was younger, I actually did have severe phases as well. I had an astronaut phase where my dad bought me a telescope, really expensive telescope. I was really into studying the stars and learning constellations. I had a veterinarian phase where I was forcing myself, instead of watching cartoons, I was only watching Animal Planet veterinarian shows, just trying to learn what it would be like to work in a vet. So, I mean, these things do come and go kind of for me throughout my life. That has been something. I just like to dabble in things. But I started thinking about what did I like around that time. So around that time, I was writing a lot. I had a little journal that I was writing like fanfics of Resident Evil, using like kind of the world to write my own stories of my own characters. I wrote a wizard story way before Harry Potter was cool, around fourth or fifth grade for myself. I Before that, I watched Harriet the Spy. I really loved that movie growing up and kind of helped me journal. And I started making the idea of zines kind of came about then. And then I thought about how it progressed. So, then I started thinking, about Almost Famous in high school. And I was obsessed with being a journalist. I was high school editor of the high school paper my senior year. I worked for the local newspaper's teen section my senior year. I did a senior project about underground newspapers of the 60s and the political stance of those and how it evolved into zines of today, and made my own music zine for the project. So this thing has kind of always been in the back of my mind, I guess, in some ways. But Joe actually said, like, think about, you really love music and you like writing, so why don't you look for something in that vein? So basically, I'm just now at this point where I've realized that these are my interest sets, my skill sets, and I want to turn it into something else. So I am very much in the infancy stages of this, but I am going to set up possibly a Patreon in which I will release quarterly quarterly zines, um, as well as do updates on layouts and things like that. There will be bonus content. This is kind of something very serious, but it's also very playful. So I'm not going to talk anymore about that because that is down the line. I have a lot to do in the meantime. So I'm working on layouts. I'm working on experimenting with design. I am interviewing people. I am cutting out shapes. I am making scans. And, I want to get a mock-up done first before kind of deciding the direction that this will take, because it is kind of wide at the moment. I can say about the theme that I am going to mix these fun art camp collages that I'm going to make, referencing movies of mine that I like, of pop culture references, of the things that interest me. I'm going to make, as well as there's ideas to, I'm going to be interviewing creative people in Iceland, kind of figuring out what makes them tick, but also asking them really fun questions, so you can kind of see the humans behind the art. And I'm thinking about also, going into more serious interviews as well for musicians, for bands, and things like that. So there's a lot of different ways I want to go, and I'm trying to hone it down. But I got to first get some pieces together to get it into something to mold. But I am excited, and for the first time ever, I'm really working on self-confidence and self-worth. So I am convincing myself that this is going to be, like, I'm very excited. I hope that you're going to get excited as you see what comes out. But it's just rarely that I have an interest that really drives me. So, I mean, with writing, I always have to kind of force myself to sit down before I decide I'm going to start working on it. And good things come of it, but it is a different process than what's happening now. Now I'm actually excited to explore new things. And I'm doing, instead of doing like video games or things like that, my mind is actually just focused on this. So I think that that's what makes this different, is that it's really interesting to see how passionate I am to turn this into something. I do think it's going to be cool. So, I also am making this video kind of as a warning that, things might calm down a bit on the art Insta that I've started. I'm not going to stop making videos. I'm not going to stop making playlists. I'm still going to kind of continue it, but I'm going to prioritize this new venture because this is something I want to make into something bigger. I have so many plans for the future of what this is going to be. So I don't want to gyp myself or rob myself of the creative energy if I'm pouring it into this versus doing something that will actually benefit me in the long run. Yeah, I'm really excited. I just think this is like, we're in this time where people are kind of jaded by the internet, I think. I think that there's this DIY culture kind of rising again. People are buying cassette tapes again. They are making staple-bound books. They are sharing, because we can share in so many different ways and mediums these days, people are kind of going back to the roots to kind of look for inspiration. And I think that's awesome. And I think that this plus isolation and then the year and the feeling isolated, I want to reach out. I want to send out snail mail. I just think this is the perfect culmination of circumstances that has led to this moment, and I am extremely excited about what it could bring. Nothing is set in stone. In my original video, I basically mapped out my entire brain process of how the Patreon's going to work, of this, of that, and I was kind of putting too many eggs in the basket, and I was like, no, let's take it back a step and focus on what we can achieve right now. So I will slowly be unveiling things, but because I'm not sure of how I'm doing anything yet, I'm just kind of waiting for some pieces. So that will all come about next week. I have my first interview, and I'll kind of see how I can play with that. And yeah, so it's kind of a stay tuned. Rare_imports on Instagram is the only place that I'm currently at. I'm not advertising it greatly. I am not posting a whole lot because I'm not sure of how I'm going to format it going forward. But yeah, other than that, I hope everyone is staying sane. My mental health is finally in a somewhat stable place, so I am staying off American politics. I think it is a shit show. If you want to talk about, Trump supporters storming the building, if you want to talk about that, we can. But I'm not trying to be selfish and say that American politics aren't important, blah, 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 but it's also not my life anymore. It's not affecting me every day. Focusing on it too much is just focusing on something outside of my control, which is some things that I already struggle with, control issues, and focusing on things I can't control and feeling stressed about that. So I'm just kind of not surprised. I would say saddened, but I'm also, because of the lack of surprise, I'm not. I posted something earlier that's saying, like, you never see Hannah Montana and Miley in the same room. That's why the police let them in. So we shouldn't be shocked by that. Um, yeah, I think that the next 4 years are going to be crazy because I think it's going to be a struggle to get. I think while we can push a more progressive agenda, um, I think that it's going to be a struggle with what is happening now. I think that's going to be noise making for the next 4 years until something else happens. Whole nother video though. Anyway, I'm going to focus on my own things. I'm going to put positive energy into the world, and yeah, I think that you should all get excited because I think this is going to be fun, and I think that it's going to be something that everyone will enjoy, no matter what your background is. Yeah. So on that note, and yeah, have a good day.